Hey, you know that one place in town that has been like 8 different businesses and they all fail and you think, I don't know, is this building built on top of like a burial site or something? But now yet another business is giving it a go. Anyway, Fantastic Four is in theaters this weekend, and you might be wondering if you should take your family, which is where I come in, and my wife, and my 6 kids, and this
boy.
Yeah, Kratos gets it. Fatherhood is tough. I don't know what to do. It's actually really fine. He's a nice kid, and if he doesn't say that way, it's okay, because I'll just remind him what year Reagan was born, you know what I'm saying?
I just got out of jail and I ain't going back. I ain't going back.
Also, his family came along, so this is a 10-kid and 3-adult review. Now, before we get to all of them, I gotta give you my views, because it's my channel, and you should know how I walked in, for perspective. I was pretty mixed. On the one hand, this IP has never done well on the big screen. The last attempt was very bad.
I apologize, I forgot you were there.
Yeah, that one. Don't worry if you haven't seen it, you're in the majority there. I also just don't have a lot of faith in anything that Marvel or Disney in general is putting out right now. But on the other hand, some of this new direction has potential. The retro-futuristic aesthetic is gorgeous. There are a ton of practical effects at play, and my understanding was that this movie was basically a standalone or only connects to the MCU at the very end, which I think is a plus. That thing is collapsing under its own weight. Now, there have been some weird headlines, like Johnny Storm being not at all like that problematic womanizing version with Chris Evans, and then the whole thing puts Sue in the lead, which, given many recent movies, does not sound great, but could maybe work better than previous versions where Sue didn't do much of consequence. Most importantly though, I could tell this version was all about family, even from the trailers. The central plot should be strong, that goes for any movie, but what's gonna make or break this one and have you wanting to watch it again or not is if you can connect with that family element, the struggles, the bonds of love, all of that. Now, it got off to a great start, but I'm sorry to say it did not stick that landing for me. But let's talk about that great start first and the pros for this one. First, the visuals really are great. They're saying it's presented in Fantastivision, which means nothing. It's mostly IMAX cameras and vintage lens filters to go for a mid-century modern retro-futuristic feel, but it is not in VistaVision like last year's The Brutalist, which was outstanding, by the way, or the upcoming One Battle After Another with Leonardo DiCaprio, which I'm highly interested in as well. Nevertheless, the sets are real. Herbie is real, remote controlled. Reed's lab is so cool looking. It's all very 60s, but not overdone like a Austin Powers parody or something. Unlike so many recent Marvel efforts, there were a lot of practical effects, and the CGI that they did use was well done. The music fits well, the montages made of boxes on the screen were nice. It was like an old sitcom. I also liked the absence of Dr. Doom, and especially the absence of the stupid love triangle between Storm, Richards, and Doom. This version is more focused on the team as a family and their dynamics between each other and the new baby. Much like the recent Superman, they did not do the origin story, and I am loving that trend. The movie takes place 4 years after their fateful space journey, and that late show that you saw in the trailers serves as the montage recap for their origin.
Folks, we all know the story. 4 brave astronauts head up into space and come back forever changed.
All of that, plus the discovery that Sue is pregnant, takes the first 8-ish minutes. It was a really smart call. 15-ish minutes later, Silver Surfer shows up, so our intro and inciting event are all in the first 20-25 minutes. It was very well paced. The whole first half is great. And then things kind of start to meander. There was an early trailer where Sue is reassuring Reed that everyone has their role. Ben has always been their rock, Johnny's always been Johnny, etc. None of that appeared, and the sentiment behind it was also gone. Actually, most of what you saw in that original trailer did not appear. This thing got the typical Disney heavy post-work right up to release. John Malkovich is gone entirely. So in the second half, Galactus wants their baby, and now they have to make a plan to stop him or escape or something. And it becomes about Sue being a protective mama bear, complete with primal scream power to drive her victory. Also, Primal screams while she gives birth on their ship, which was a choice.
Hey,
George Franklin.
I am glad that they went with motherhood makes you strong instead of the usual being like a man makes you strong, so that is progress. In the first half, I really thought the reports of Sue being the bestest were way overblown. Like, sure, she's a leader at the UN, she's doing diplomatic stuff, she's usually the first to speak for the group, but it was working really well because it gave her a solid role and it wasn't at anybody else's expense. Reed was being played as the, hyper-intelligent character who isn't exactly rude and emotionless, but is more focused on math and solving problems than interpersonal issues. So it makes sense for her to be the face and the voice of the group. My issue is that in the second half, suddenly, all of that was a massive deficiency for Reed, and it really got my dandruff up because I'm extremely tired of this trope where a male character is bad because they don't emote enough. I get it. There are problems with the old trope of the hysterical woman who just screams all the time, but the second half feels like a direct "we'll show them" to the facts don't care about your feelings crowd. Great. You really owned them. Except now we have Sue being right, just, because she is, and Reed being wrong because he's not empathetic enough. Even though the big argument that they had was because Reed was empathizing with a group, none of it matters. At one point, he's holding his baby, and he says he doesn't want the child to grow up like him because he's broken. There's something wrong with him, he says. Yeah, I'm real tired of this. Sue wins that group over with a heartfelt speech that makes zero sense, but whatever. Later, Reed, smartest man alive Richards, designs a trap so stupid even Wile E. Coyote wouldn't have tried it. This version of Johnny was the goofy, fun uncle, but he's not charismatic here, and his haircut should be punishable with jail time.
Right to jail, right away. No trial, no nothing.
He's fairly forgettable. Ben is also pretty fun, but he's also stripped of much of his personality. The dynamics between the family obviously got lost somewhere in all the reshoots and edits and rewrites, and none of the characters have a ton of personality, not even Sue, really. I was enjoying this one for a while, about the first half, but even at 5 minutes shy of 2 hours, this one got boring because it lacked character connection or a solid through line. Hopefully you won't be shy about clobbering that like button. Oh, that segue was fantastic. But that's enough of my opinion. What about the kids? What about Mrs. Owen? What about the folks we went with? Well, here are a series of questions that might help you understand how they feel, then we'll get to the family scores. So I surveyed my family a couple of days ago to see if they were looking forward to this one or if their friends were talking about it, and the older three were excited. The girls wanted to see how it compared to the 2005 version that they watched pretty recently, and my son, he just thought it looked like fun. The younger three did not care one way or the other, but they did want popcorn. They all mentioned that none of their friends cared at all. My 13-year-old noted that he intentionally brought it up last week around some friends. Nobody was excited about it. 17 noted that her friends aren't talking about it and that, and I'm quoting, these characters just don't seem like a big deal in Marvel like the other characters. Now, if you're my age or older, you might be in confused shock right now.
Who's Genuine?
Genuine is genuine. He's genuine.
I'll give you a moment to pick your phone up off the ground or wipe the spittle from your screen. You might think that sounds crazy, but think about what that means for the future of Marvel movies and how badly Disney does not understand who is watching these. Now, compared to that 2005 version, Mrs. Owen said, it's about the same. The girls said this movie was far worse than the old one. Damn! So next I asked somebody who their favorite character was. As you can see here, mostly Johnny, Herbie, Franklin the baby, and Reed. Only one holdout for Ben, not a single vote for Sue. I didn't love Johnny, but his brand of irreverence was a standout for quite a few kids. There were also many laments that Herbie the robot didn't get more presence. A lot of the kids really liked him. Next, I wanted to know their favorite moment. For many, I actually had to suggest a couple because an hour after this movie, they couldn't think of one. 15 and Mrs. Owen liked Sue turning her stomach invisible in one scene so Reed could see the baby instead of scanning it, and they thought it was really funny that he called her out for winning the argument in such a cheap way. There were also a few mentions of Johnny confronting the Silver Surfer toward the end. It's a very powerful moment, and it was certainly a better setup for the ending than "It's never too late to not be a dick." The younger boys liked Ben and Johnny teasing each other. Their relationship was probably the best in the entire movie. And there were also mentions of the team outsmarting the surfer at one point, and the joke where Johnny wants to know if the surfboard is a part of her body. That also comes back up later on. Then I wanted to know what everybody would change to, help define what the weak points are. A lot of the answers revolved around either the obviousness of the plot, especially with regard to the baby, or the manufactured tension all throughout. A few people mentioned how uncomfortable the spaceship birth was. Mrs. Owen did not love the creepy CGI baby, or that the baby was clearly not a newborn, ever. The baby in the final battle feels like cheap emotional manipulation, and the end is so predictable and not executed well. It's not impactful at all. And look, being predictable is not the core issue. It's when the audience can see what's coming a mile away and doesn't care. Like, we can tell that Ben is finally going to say, "It's clobbering time" in the final battle somewhere, but most of us felt nothing other than, oh, okay, well, that's where he finally says it. There was a real lack of emotional connection for all of us. I asked if anybody wanted to see this team again, either in a sequel on their own or in that upcoming Avengers movie, and most responses were pretty lukewarm, other than my 13-year-old who genuinely enjoyed the whole thing. Those that did want to see them together again either wanted them without the baby or mentioned how they wanted to see what the team would do when they were fighting Dr. Doom. So Victor is really the draw, not the Fantastic Four. So I guess Disney was correct to bury RDJ under a mountain of cash to come back. 5-year-old was the only differing opinion. She would like to see a sequel where the team fights a big lion. So if anybody at Marvel is listening, please take that into consideration. Next up was the thematic question, what is this movie about? And this was a pretty easy one because they're slapping you in the face with it. It's a Dom Toretto special, and Sue's speech to the crowd after she has the baby is the group of writers telling you what they want the theme to be. It's family and connection to family and what you would sacrifice for your family, and also family.
Then we're gonna add some family. Now what I like to do, just for a little bit of taste, is add some family. Then I usually add 1/2 of family.
Real quick before we hit the group scores and Mrs. Owen's thoughts, I want to cover the parental concerns. This movie's quite tame and bland, honestly. That's not great for the adults, but it is very safe for kids. It's rated PG-13, and I'm so confused as to why. I really wish that there was something between that and PG, because that's a really big gap. IMDb claims that there are frightening and intense scenes, such as Galactus trying to steal Sue's baby and the surfer saying that the entire planet is going to be destroyed. I don't think anything was intense or frightening, and my 5-year-old also agreed. I asked her specifically. Reed does say bullshit one time, and I think there were a smattering of shits and dams, so I guess that brings the rating up a little bit. The volume is balanced very nicely in this one. No big booms, no jump scares, no strobing lights, no heavy or subversive themes, and no sexual imagery or references, other than Sue making one vague joke about some situation not being how she got pregnant, and then, of course, the spaceship birth. That's not graphic, but it was sure weird to be in the movie for so long. But as long as you're fine with a handful of shits and dams, I think this one is fine for everyone. And Mrs. Owen is not feeling like being on the mic tonight, but she also didn't have a whole lot to add. She did like that the movie was very pro-family. Sue and Reed are excited about their baby, and they want to fight for him. She also liked that Sue was mom-strong instead of man-strong. Her strength was in service to her baby and her family, not just for the sake of being the strongest. She did, however, find Sue to be a little annoying and difficult sometimes for no reason, which is part of that manufactured tension throughout the movie. Beyond that, she felt like the whole thing was just very okay, which was widely agreed upon. Here are those scores. As you can see, whole lot of 6s. Some of these are true 6s, some would have been 7s, but those are not allowed. The other dad was not feeling this one at all, and Mrs. Owen also found it very average. My 9-year-old gave it an 8, but he couldn't really tell me why, and my 13-year-old was the only one that really had a fun time with it. He didn't have much in the way of negative remarks, other than Galactus being beaten too easily after being described as the most powerful being in the universe. He doesn't like continuity problems like that. The 5-year-old only needed one break, but she was mostly attentive. This one kept her engaged. Now, with those scores in mind, I really can't suggest this as a theater watch. For my family of 8, it's about $160 for tickets with popcorn and drinks. And that is a discount because my theater chain has like a movie club thing. At prices like that, this movie is just not a great value, and nothing about it feels like you need to see this in a theater, where something like Superman kind of did feel pretty theater worthy. It's not a terrible movie, but you can wait to rent this and not miss anything. The theaters did seem pretty full though, even on early showings on a Thursday. So have you seen it? What'd you think? Are you planning to see this one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.